Hey everybody, this is Paige from Mosaic Moments, and today I'm going to be showing you some of my favorite adventure level die layouts. So adventure level is a little bit different from levels 1 and 2. Levels 1 is going to be mostly your embellishing dies. They're pretty straightforward to use. And then there's level 2, which takes a little bit more time to plan. So really the levels are more about how long it takes to plan your layouts. So level 3 is going to take you the most time to create because there's a lot more small spaces to work around. So I will be showing you some of my favorites today. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, this is my first layout, and this layout has a few of the X Factor dies. So it has the 4x4, the 2x2. This is found in the 4x6 die set, and the 2x4 double X Factor die. And this page is so good. It's one of my favorites of all time that I've made. And what I love is this distressed orange, and then you have this blue water that just looks amazing. These photos were taken in Florida. And I put in these photos of shells to help fill in this X Factor section, which it's so tiny you would have to use some kind of paper or photos like these. And it just looks so good. But what really makes this page pop to me is this diamond shape you can create with the double X Factor. And so you get that by filling them in certain spaces to look good. So that is what makes this page great, is having that beautiful diamond shape. It just looks awesome. And like I said, the complementary colors just really add on, really add to this layout as well. It's just so good. All right, the second layout has the dial dies, which I love. If you like the circle looks, if you have the pie die, this is pretty similar. If you don't have the pie die yet, I may recommend doing dial first because the spaces are a little bit wider. It's a little less, it's a little bit easier to plan your photos with the dial die. But I love the dial because it has this big circle and then this little circle, and you can fill it with other things. But what I like about this layout is these photos were taken at Colonial Williamsburg, and I definitely was inspired by the colonial look. I have this gingham paper, and then I have this floral paper. It kind of just reminded me of some of the colonial art around there. So that's what I love. And I have this burlap grid paper. Altogether, it just, to me, reminds me, every time I look at it, I think of Colonial Williamsburg because of the paper I use. I had in a journaling video, you can put journaling in any spot. But things like pie die or dial, I like doing something like this where I use a circle die and then add a little bit of journaling in that circle and put it right in the middle. I think it adds a nice embellishment to the page too. All right, this is the bridge dies. Now bridge, you generally use it to make a big circle, but for this one, I did something a little different. And I loved how it turned out. It was kind of one of those things like, I don't know how this is gonna turn out. Well, it turned out really good. So instead of a circle, it makes this oval shape, but I love how you have this oval and then there's this break with the squares that go through it. The design of the layout is just so good and unexpected. If you've been using the bridge die, make that big circle look a lot. This is an idea to do something a little bit different. Plus the colors are really fun. These photos were taken at the Boardwalk Resort at Disney World, and I don't know, I just saw this pattern paper and I was like, I want to use that pattern paper, and so I made a page that coordinated with that. It's a very cute page, and like I said, this design, oh man, it is, I love this design. It's just so good. All right, this one is on the dot, and I love the on the dot dies. And this one has actually on the dot bow, which I really like how you can make these little designs here with the curve in it. And what I love about this, well, actually what I love about the on the dot dies is the little dots. It helps you fill it in with more stuff, and you can add in the little details. This one's of my dog, but there's been pages where I maybe add in some flowers at a garden, something that like stood out to me, and put it in a little spot to remember. But what I like about this layout here, so these are just trees. They were snow covered in the winter time. So I put it in the curved part and I put it in these little corners. And I love how it makes it feel like my dog's just running through the trees. I didn't allow her to run through the woods, but you know, I love how it makes you feel like you're outside and it's winter time. I just love that effect here with these trees, and that's why this page stood out to me. I just think the little dots plus that makes it so good. Oh, and I forgot. Oh my gosh, it is actually a 2-page spread. So there's this side and then this side. I wanted to continue the curve. So this is the other 2x4 die. You can see it doesn't have this curve in it. And continued over here with the little dots to help tell the story of her running around playing with her ball in the snow. So altogether, this is a great spread. All right, I have another 2-page spread. I actually have quite a few 2-page spreads today. I just forgot with that previous one. So this is the dynamic die set, and for this page I did what we don't normally do, kind of. This one, I was actually going to continue this in the normal spots on the top and bottom too, like other dynamic pages. But when I made it, I first made this part and I was like, you know what, that actually looks good just like that. And I hadn't done that before. So sometimes if you don't want to cut, like in this case, I have these photos and they were able to be cropped bigger. If that's a concern, like if you have photos where you're like, I'm not sure if they're going to fit in this kind of space, you can just add a section like this where it's just a row and then the other sections don't have the dynamic dies, and it looks really neat. And this one I want to point out something with this one. So this is the 4x4, same as this die, right next to each other. And when I put them together, I realized, oh, there's a carpenter star there. So you don't necessarily see that just looking at the die or the die cut itself, but when I put them next to each other, I'm like, wait a minute, that's there. I'm gonna, and so I purposely put a different color pattern paper there so you can definitely see there's a carpenter star there. So that was a nice little surprise, and obviously goes with this outdoorsy layout. This was a fun one to do. And the dynamic dies, if you use them, you kind of can't go wrong with them. All right, the next one is also a 2-page spread of the charmed dies. So there's the charmed 4x6 die and the 2x4, and I love this layout. I really love it. Most of the time we've made charmed to only have like one row of this, but I really wanted one with 2 rows because why not? I want to use more of those die cuts, right? And I wondered what I should do for a second layout, and I was like, I've never done this before where I just took the 2x4 and placed them next to each other and they make little circles, and it was perfect for a 2-page spread. And that's what I love about it. I love the colors in here with the pattern paper and all, but I just love the 2 charmed die rows here. I broke it with these squares. So I don't know if I'd want to place them right next to each other, but I like how this gives your eye a break here. And then over here, there's these fun circles. I enjoyed making this one so much. It looks so good, and the charm dies are so fun. And I recommend trying this out sometime where you just have the 2x4 and make little circles. It's really fun. Okay, this layout shows the Clover dies. I think it actually goes this way. And this is an extraordinary layout. Like, I would say if I had a top 10 video of the best layouts, this would probably be one of them. But the die I don't have in here is the 4x4 Clover. So if you've never seen Clover, these actually make 4 complete circles. But I wanted to do something a little different, so I left those out. And I still think this design with the 2x4 and 2x2 Clover look so good. I was really amazed. And then over here, I made a panorama with the 2x4. It almost looks like you're looking through a glass window. I love it. This page is amazing. I do have a video that shows you how to make this panorama actually, so go check that out. I'll put the link in the top right corner, should be there. And yeah, this page is just beautiful. The colors are amazing. I have this kind of pinkish color here. I don't know. I think it's kind of like a cranberry. And then there's this green. So it's actually complementary. And then I added the ivory cardstock, which makes the complementary not seem too overwhelming. And then, of course, what makes this page too is those apple photos. I mean, I really think that's what makes this page. And that's why it's important to take so many different types of photos, especially filler photos, because they can make amazing layouts. And it helps tell more of the story and helps you remember those moments. All right, this one's my last 2-page spread, and then I have 2 more just single layouts. So you may recognize this page here. I made a video, I think it's called Calming Scrapbooking Demo or something. Anyway, I'll have the link in the top right folder. So I made that layout, so you may recognize this one, but I didn't show that I had a second layout. I loved this one so much, I went ahead and made a second one. So right here is the Serendipity dies. And this one is the 2x2 sequel set. And what I love about this layout is you have the two huge Serendipity dies, and usually there be another 2 here. But with the little sequel dies, you can make this center design without filling in all that space, and that allowed me to add more photos. So if you're worried about Serendipity just being too big, this is a great solution to allow you to fit in more photos. And over here, I only used it twice and was able to fill in a lot of smaller photos and even a journaling spot. But I just love this layout. These photos were taken over a decade ago. And so this is actually of Jamestown settlement, and usually with historic sites, I choose kind of like earth tone colors on my layout, but this page is really about 2 sisters having a fun time. So I decided to actually go with brighter, more feminine colors. So that's pretty unusual for me, but sometimes when you've made the same thing a lot, I want to think outside the box a little bit. So instead of using a lot of browns and greens like I normally would, maybe for a Jamestown page, I decided to go a very feminine direction, and that's part of the reason why I like it so much. And the Serendipity dies are amazing. All right, I have my last 2 layouts. So this layout right here uses the Crisscross dies. I love the pink section here. What I love about the 4x6 Crisscross die is there's so many little spaces to work with, and you can have so much fun filling that in different ways. Here I have my focal point photo, but also have this snowy tree background photo here, plus some paper. And this is a winter layout, but on winter layouts, sometimes I really like to add a warm color. So maybe pink isn't traditionally a winter color, but I like adding a little bit of warmth with a color like pink or red on a winter layout. And the Crisscross dies are really fun, and I love all these lines. We call them leading lines because the lines lead you to the middle where your focal point is. So this is a really fun one. And, next time you make a winter page, maybe consider adding a little bit of warmth to it. All right, this is the last layout. The dies up here are called the Cathedral dies, and as you can see, the spaces are pretty small. So in my case, I printed my photos smaller than a 4x6, you would say. You could also use filler photos like flowers or landscape. So I always try to put a focal photo here. In this case, it's a castle, but we've done other ones where it could be a person here, and then the other photos have like mountains or some kind of landscape in those sections. So this is definitely a level 3 die because it will take a little more planning to try to figure out how to fit photos in those spaces. Or you don't have to use photos and make it completely decorative by adding paper, pattern paper, or cardstock to those sections as well. Now the Cathedral die is kind of a formal die. It works well with themes such as weddings. I could see this used for a layout if you went to Europe or something. But I wanted to do something a little more fun. And when I made this page, I realized, wait a minute, Disney World has a castle. I should definitely use the Cathedral dies. So if you like Disney, this could be a fun one to use for your Magic Kingdom layouts, or if you're on the West Coast, your Disneyland layouts. And this one has so many fun colors. So I took what's kind of a more formal looking die and made it a bit more fun, and it looks very Disney on this layout. So I really enjoyed making this one and making the Cathedral dies a little bit different from the norm. All right, we have reached the end of today's video. I hope you gathered some ideas and maybe it'll inspire you to make an adventure level die page for your next layout. If you have any questions about adventure level dies, let me know in the comments below. Pretty much what I would say is you pretty much can't go wrong with the level 3 dies because the designs are already kind of figured out for you. As long as you do something fun like this, you're gonna be good. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.